So, guys, you know the Eagles already made their move this offseason. They fired offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo, and everybody's kind of acting like that fixes the offense. But I went back through the tape from last season, and there's a pattern I keep seeing. Games against the Broncos, the Cowboys. That close one against the Bills, where the Eagles get a good lead and then just completely shut it down, running it into nothing on 3rd and long just so they can punt it away. And the more I look at it, I don't think that came from Patullo at all. So, stick around because I'm going to break down what I actually think is going on here and why I don't think they fixed it yet. What's up, Birds Gang? Welcome to NFL Playbook Eagles. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So, let me walk you through what I'm seeing, because this isn't just an opinion. This is stuff I went back and actually charted game by game, down in distance, not just the box score. Start with the Broncos game. Eagles get out to a double-digit lead, and then the offense just disappears. 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 situations where you need a play, and instead of letting Jalen Hurts even take a manageable shot down the field, they're handing it to Will Shipley on a draw that has zero chance of getting there before the ball is even snapped. And it's not a one-time thing, because the Cowboys game is the same story, big lead, total shutdown mode, conservative run after conservative run, and the Eagles watch that lead shrink until it's a dogfight in the 4th quarter. Then there's the Bills game, which they survived, but barely, same exact pattern down the stretch. Now here's why I don't think you can pin that on Kevin Patullo. A coordinator calling 3rd and long draws because he's scared of his quarterback making a mistake, sure, that happens around the league. But what I noticed watching this closely is that these conservative stretches lined up almost perfectly with the moments this coaching staff has openly said they want to protect a lead and play it safe. That's not a play calling philosophy, guys. That's a mindset, and mindsets in that building come from the head coach, not the coordinator next to him on the headset. Nick Sirianni has talked openly about wanting his team to protect a lead instead of going for it on 4th and short, because in his eyes, that's a winning formula. That's just smart, disciplined football. And look, I get the logic on paper. But when you watch it actually play out, what you're really watching is an offense that stops trying to score the moment the lead gets comfortable, and that has cost this team real points on the board. Maybe a game or two outright. So, that brings me to the move they actually made, firing Patullo back in January and going out to find somebody new. And I'll be honest, when I first heard the name Sean Mannion, I had to do a double take. This guy is 33 years old, with 2 years of coaching experience total, both as an assistant in the quarterback room in Green Bay. He's never called plays in a regular season NFL game in his life, and the most play-calling experience he's got walking into this job is a Shrine Bowl All-Star game back in January. Now he's stepping into one of the most expensive, most scrutinized rosters in the league, with a fan base and a front office that already watched 4 different coordinators come and go in just a few years. Now, I'm not saying the hire is automatically bad, far from it. He's been in rooms with Matt LaFleur around Sean McVay's system through Kevin O'Connell, that wider Shanahan coaching tree people respect a lot around the league right now. Jordan Love had a career year with this guy coaching him up, so there's clearly some real ability there. But here's my honest concern. A first-time play caller walking into a building where the head coach has a track record of overriding the offense in big moments, that's exactly the kind of situation where old habits creep right back in fast. If Sirianni felt comfortable getting hands-on with a guy like Patullo, who at least had play-calling experience, what makes anybody think he sits back and lets a rookie coordinator run the show when the Eagles are up 10 in the 4th quarter? That's really the heart of it. The conversation around this team has been all about who's calling the plays, like changing the name on the headset somehow fixes everything by itself. Patullo's out, Mannion's in, problem solved. That's basically been the messaging all offseason. But if the real issue was never about who's drawing up the 3rd and long call, and it was about whether this team gets to keep playing aggressive once they have a lead, then swapping the coordinator doesn't touch the actual problem at all. You can hire the smartest, most aggressive play designer in football, and it won't matter if the guy upstairs is still going to tap him on the shoulder in the 4th quarter and tell him to run it into the line and punt. And it's not just the coordinator chair that changed, which I think gets lost in all this conversation. Jeff Stoutland stepped away after 13 years as offensive line coach, the guy who basically built the identity of these trenches for over a decade. Manning brought in his own guys at passing game coordinator and the run game spot too, so this is almost an entirely new offensive coaching staff around Jalen Hurts, not just a new coordinator at the top. Stack that on top of everything else, and it starts looking less like a tweak and more like a full reset. And full resets take time, even when the head coach isn't getting in the way of it. And now, let me talk about personnel for a second too, because it connects right back to the bigger picture. A.J. Brown is gone, off to New England, so Jalen Hurts is walking into a season with a receiver room that lost its most explosive name. He's now working with his 5th different offensive coordinator since becoming the full-time starter back in 2021. Think about that for a second. 5 different voices installing 5 different systems in 5 different years, while the roster around him kept shuffling too. That kind of instability at the position that's supposed to be the steadiest part of any offense isn't nothing, and it's part of why one off-season coaching change doesn't magically erase years of this pattern. And here's the part that really stands out when I look at the numbers from last season. This was, by a wide margin, the most expensive offensive roster in the NFL, premium money at receiver, premium money on the offensive line, a former Super Bowl winning quarterback under center. And with all that investment, with all that talent, this offense still finished 19th in points per game, 24th in total yards, and led the entire league in 3-and-outs. You don't finish dead last in 3-and-outs with that much talent on the field unless something structural is going on behind the scenes. That's not a talent problem, guys. That's a play calling and mindset problem, and it lines up exactly with the second half shutdowns I described earlier. And this exact issue showed up in the moment that mattered most. The Eagles' season ended in the playoffs against a banged-up 49ers team missing several key starters, and Philadelphia still found a way to lose that game 23-19. Same story, drive stalling out in the second half, conservative calls when the offense needed to put the game away instead of staying aggressive. Line that up next to the Broncos, Cowboys, and Bills games, and it's the same pattern over and over in the single biggest moment of the entire year. So, when I read that headline asking whether the Eagles' biggest problem is actually what everybody thinks it is, I get exactly what they're pointing at. Everybody wants to talk about the receiver room, the new coordinator, whether Jalen Hurts bounces back. Those storylines matter, I'm not saying ignore them at all. But none of it gets fixed if the actual root issue, a head coach who tightens up and plays not to lose the second his team gets comfortable, doesn't change. You can hand Mannion every resource in the building draft, another receiver in the first round, bring in 10 new position coaches. And if Sirianni still steps in during the fourth quarter and tells his offense to sit on the ball, you're going to see the exact same tape from last year all over again. And that's why I don't think this front office has actually owned this problem yet. Every public statement out of that building has been about scheme and personnel, finding the right system, the right voice in the quarterback's room. Nobody in charge has come out and said the thing that actually needs to change is how aggressive this team is allowed to be once they're ahead. Until somebody says that part out loud, I don't care how many new coaches you bring in, you're treating the symptom and not the disease. Now look, I want to be fair too. I'm not trying to act like this team is doomed here. Mannion could genuinely be a great hire. We don't know that yet either way. Jalen Hurts has been through coordinator changes before and still played at an MVP level in some of those years. There's real talent on this roster even after losing A.J. Brown. But as a fan watching this closely every single year, I need to see this team actually trust its play caller when the game's on the line, not just when they're trailing by 2 scores. That's the real test this season, not the name on the headset. Watch what happens the first time the Eagles get a double-digit lead in the second half of a real game that matters. If you see Will Shipley running into a stacked box on 3rd and 8 again, nothing changed. If you see this offense keep its foot on the gas instead, then maybe they finally figured out what the real issue was. That's my honest read on it, guys. Let me know down in the comments if you think I'm onto something here or if I'm being too hard on Sirianni. I'm not asking this team to throw it 40 times a game once they're up 2 scores, just a little more trust in the offense to stay aggressive instead of completely shutting it down. The second things look comfortable. That's the difference between an offense that closes games out and one that lets opponents climb right back in. Either way, I'm tracking this closely through training camp and the preseason, watching exactly how Mannion is allowed to operate once real football starts, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. I'll catch you in the next one.